There are three things every American should know about a government shutdown. When does it happen? Why does it happen? And how it affects you. Most of us become a little freaked out when we hear that there will be a government shutdown because we don't know how a shutdown might affect us personally. Hopefully after you watch this video, you will have a better understanding of just how fearful you should or should not feel. And you can also decide for yourself whether our government is broken or not. If Congress cannot pass a government spending bill by the October 1st deadline each year, the government always has the potential to shut down all non-essential functions. The Treasury Department cannot spend money without being told by Congress which agencies are approved to receive funding and how much each agency will receive. It's in the Constitution. Congress can submit either one big bill or separate little bills for the President of the United States to sign into law. Things can get messy because government representatives have to agree on what will be funded and what will be cut. So some programs might have to be removed, or maybe a particular program might receive less funding than some representatives or the president would like for the program to receive. At the end of the day, though, it usually comes down to a political party wanting or not wanting certain things funded. So basically, it's Democrats versus Republicans, and the standoff can serve as a way for a political party to have their demands met. The interesting thing is whenever the government is faced with a possible shutdown, government representatives do have the option to come to an agreement and pass a short-term temporary funding bill to keep the government open. But of course, a short-term temporary funding bill can also be a problem because representatives would have to agree on that bill as well. Government shutdowns permanently take money out of the U.S. economy, so the longer the shutdown, the more it costs. When the government shuts down, it stops spending, but when the government reopens, it will spend the money that was held up during the shutdown. Although spending is simply delayed during a shutdown, our country will have lower production of goods and services. Production will often decrease by roughly 1%. So the government will usually lose billions of dollars during a shutdown, but they will get most of the money back once the government reopens. However, the government will have a small permanent loss. The largest permanent loss that we've had so far from a government shutdown is around $3 billion. Roughly only 25% of federal government spending is even affected by a shutdown. Some government agencies already have their funding approved, and some agencies rely on fees collected during operations, so these agencies usually won't close. Also, if an agency has leftover funds that haven't been spent yet, the agency may be able to remain open. Each agency gets to decide how they will handle the shutdown and which employees will remain on the job. Some agencies are required to come up with a plan of what they will do during a shutdown if it were to happen. These agencies have to spend a lot of money to create these plans. I have included a link in the description box if you would like to see what a particular agency plans to do in case there is a shutdown. Now, you might already know that national parks might close during a shutdown, but here are some other things that might affect you. The processing of passports, the hiring of new government employees. You might not be able to interact with congressional offices, and you might have a difficult time reaching customer service at some federal government offices because staffing levels usually decrease during a shutdown. The people who are hurt the most during the government shutdown are government employees, businesses that have the government as a customer, and government contractors. Oftentimes, if a business has the government as a main customer, that business might have a layoff of employees due to lack of funds because the government will stop making payments until after the shutdown is over. Also, the government will not give contractors any type of back pay during the time that the government is shut down. A business that cannot operate without the approval of a government regulatory office may not be able to operate because they can't get a required license. When a regulated business, such as producers of alcohol, cannot get certifications and approvals to operate, they lose revenue and sometimes have to lay off employees. Some small business administration loan programs are temporarily placed on hold during a shutdown. Small and mid-sized U.S. businesses might experience a hardship if they are depending on these loans. We can't forget about the effect on government employees. Some federal workers, such as TSA agents, federal law enforcement, and members of the military, will continue working. Members of the military will continue receiving a paycheck during a shutdown, but other federal employees will not receive a paycheck during a shutdown. I know when I was an IRS agent, it was always loads of fun having to dip into my savings during a government shutdown. Now let's look at a few services that are permanently funded and will not shut down or stop. We have the post office, Social Security payments, Medicare payments, and Medicaid. Although you might still receive your Social Security or any other entitlement payments, you might have a difficult time being able to speak to someone at one of the offices since there will be reduced staffing levels. You also might experience delays in enrolling in services or delays in trying to make changes to your current enrollment. Okay, so after hearing about what happens during a government shutdown, are you concerned? It really seems that unless you have a lot of interaction with the federal government, you probably won't feel much of a difference. Hey, before you go, I would like to know your opinion regarding government shutdowns. Some people argue that shutdowns indicate that we have a broken government, while others say that it's all a part of checks and balances. What do you think? Please leave your comment below. All the best to you.